Bon après-midi, mesdames et messieurs. Buenas tardes, damas y caballeros. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sung-Hoon Kim, and I'd like to welcome you to the International Civil Aviation Organization's 40th Assembly SkyTalks. During a 2-week period, we have 68 presentations by aviation industry leaders and professionals, and we have a great lineup of presentations for you. I would ask you to please go on to the YouTube and check out the ICAO's website for more information. We are coming to you live. I would ask you to refrain from using your cell phones and put them on vibrating mode. At the end of this presentation, please make sure to come up and ask our next presenter many questions. So we continue our topic on big data, and we'll tell you about how to measure the impact of the aviation the aviation sectors on the national economy. And to tell you more about this, please welcome Sijia Chen from the Air Transport Bureau.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this SkyTalk. My name is Sijia Chen. I'm Air Transport Officer in Economic Development of ICAO. It's a pleasure for me to be here to give you a brief introduction of Aviation Satellite Account. Before I start my presentation, I just want to clarify that today's presentation will have nothing to do with the satellite in the sky. So if some of you are coming to this presentation and was hoping to listen some exciting stuff about satellite, I'm sorry to tell you, it might get disappointed because today's topic is rather focusing on the word of account, or actually accounting. So now it may sound a little bit boring, so therefore I will try to make my best to make my presentation as short as possible. So what is satellite account? Before I start explaining this concept, I'd like first to introduce the concept of national account, which I hope is a little bit familiar for you or can be easier to understand. System of national account is international standard set of recommendations, including concepts, definitions, and classifications for the measuring of economic activities. In a simple, straightforward explanation, it is a standard to measure economic items such as the GDP, which is the most frequently used indicators for measuring economic performance. The standard of national account was introduced half a century ago in 1953. And since then, it continues to evolve, and it's maintained by the United Nations, along with other international organizations such as the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, and the OECD. The latest system of national account was adopted by the United Nations Statistical Commission in 2008, and which is the so-called the 2008 SNA. SNA is quite comprehensive. It describes the economic process and can be used to monitor the economic behavior of a country, and also can be used to compare with other countries. It presents the economic data in a systematic way and consistent and comparable way that can be used by policymakers to make fact-based and decision-making. The information provided by SNA provides building blocks for the microeconomic statistics for the economic analysis and policy making. So back to the questions, what is the relationship between satellite account and national account? Well, national account was well established and quite rigorous and comprehensive. However, many of the industries are unfortunately not defined as industries in the national account framework. A typical example is tourism, which is not defined as an industry in the national account. And it's a mix of industries, including transportation, accommodation, food and beverage services. Because it's not showing as an industry in the national account framework, it makes it very difficult to identify its economic impact directly from the system of national accounting. Therefore, in order to measure these economic sectors, the United Nations introduced the concept of satellite account to incorporate the measurement of these activities into the SNA without altering the main framework of the SNA. Since the introduction of the concept of satellite account, many satellite accounts have been developed or are in the process of developing. For example, the tourism satellite account was developed by the UNWTO along with other international organizations. There's also health satellite account, environmental satellite account, and also culture satellite account, which is currently being developed by the UNESCO. In addition, several countries have also developed its own transport satellite account. For example, the United States, France, and Canada, and Australia recently. So the question is, why do we need a satellite account in aviation? Well, we all know that aviation generates substantial social economic benefits to worldwide. However, its importance is often being felt underestimated or not being fully understood. This is because there's lack of quantified information of the economic impact of aviation to the economy. And also there's no existing standard to measure these activities that is internationally comparable. Without this information, it makes it further difficult for policymakers to quantify or to understand what is the incremental impact of the investment into aviation on other industries on the economy as a whole. Recognizing the need of reliable economic data using standardized methodologies, the last Assembly adopted a resolution to request the Council to develop economic measurement of aviation impact to the economy. Includes the aviation's contribution to GDP, aviation's consumptions, aviation's jobs created, and also the impact on balance and payments. In accordance with this resolution, the expert advisory group of Aviation Satellite Account was established under the Aviation Data and Analysis Panel in May 2017 to work on the development of ASA methodological framework. Since the establishment of the EAG, the group has held several conference calls and face-to-face meetings to work on the development, and also has taken extensive guidance from the United Nations Statistical Division. The EAG consists nominated members from 10 member states and 3 international organizations, as well as national experts from the United Nations Statistical Division. Thanks to the work of the EAG, we now have the preliminary version of the Aviation Satellite Account methodological framework that is published on the Assembly website as a reference document. The document still needs to be refined, and the EAG is currently working on the vetting of the methodology by validating the data, the direct economic contribution of aviation with existing data that is available in certain states, as well as in consultation with various aviation stakeholders. So what is Aviation Satellite Account? Similar to other satellite accounts, the Aviation Satellite Account aims to measure the economic impact of aviation on national economy in line with the System of National Account 2008. What does it measure? The ASA provides an articulate framework to measure all aviation-related economic activities, including, for example, the aviation gross value added, direct GDP, the relationship of aviation with other industries, the consumption of aviation, the tax and subsidies, generated by aviation, and also the capital formation of the aviation and the jobs created by the industry. Setting up a satellite account is quite complex and involves many steps. Here shows the green is to summarize the main steps in structuring a satellite account. I'm not going to go details of each of the steps because of time constraints and the complexity of this topic. I just want to highlight the two important steps in setting up a satellite account. The first one is to define the scope or the boundary of the measurement of the aviation satellite account. So in the case of aviation satellite account, we want to define which are the activities that we want to measure as civil aviation industries in the satellite account. According to the ICAO statistical classifications, we define civil aviation industries in the satellite account as commercial air transport, general aviation, airport services, air navigation services, maintenance and overhaul, regulatory functions, and aviation training. On the other side, with the green part, you see the associated industries. These industries provide products or services to the civil aviation industry for them to produce their output. For example, in order to provide transport services to passengers and the cargo, the civil aviation industries consumes fuel and also the used aircraft that are produced by other industries. So after define the activities and products that we want to measure in the aviation satellite account, the next important step is to compile a supply and use table. The SNA suggests that supply and use table is quite helpful in articulate the process of economies of output and input by industry. As the name suggests, the supply and use table consists of two tables. The first one is supply table. Showing on the screen, you can see the table on the top is an example of supply table, which provides which shows the outputs by industries plus the imports from abroad. The second table below is an example of use table. The use table shows how products have been consumed by different industries and include information and important indicators such as intermediate consumptions, gross value added, tax generated, and also consumptions to employees. So these two tables combined provide a very comprehensive analysis of output and input of the civil aviation industries. Our objective of developing the aviation satellite account methodology framework is to increase and enhance the understanding of the aviation's important role to the overall economy and enable states to quantify the importance of the incremental impacts of investment into aviation to other industries. And last but not least, to create outreach and raise awareness of the important roles of aviation to the national economy and also supporting other industries. As explained before, that we already have preliminary version of the satellite account methodology framework available on the Assembly website, but there are a lot of work still needs to be done. First of all, we need to complete the vetting of the methodology by validating the data generated using the methodology with other existing data available, and refine the methodology framework to submit to the Air Transport Committee for its adoption. Once being adopted by the ATC, we will submit the draft to the United Nations Statistical Commission for global consultation, during which we will receive lots of comments and suggestions on how to improve the document, and after incorporating their comments, we'll further refine the methodology and submit the finalized version of the methodology framework to the United Nations Statistical Commission for its official endorsement. After its official endorsement, ICAO will then work very closely with the UNSD to raise awareness of the ASA and also to promote its acceptance by states. In this regard, ICAO will consider also to provide trainings, conduct seminars, and provide technical assistance to states to apply the methodology framework in setting up their own aviation satellite account. And next but not the last, we will also consider to expand the current methodology on direct economic impact quantification to include also the indirect, induced, and catalytic measurements of aviation's impact to the economy. With this, I will complete my presentation today, and thank you for your attention, and I'll welcome to your questions. Thank you.
Should you have any questions, I would welcome you to step forward and ask away. Well, thank you for your presentation, Sijia. Thank you.
Thank you.